Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to talk DZ, the good old Dark Zone. It's kind of been in a sad state for a long time. Massive did, in my opinion, greatly improve it in TU8 by streamlining the experience, removing normalization, adding an extra extraction per zone, doubling the amount of bosses at supply drops. That stuff was all great. And the one other thing they did back then was give the DZ heroic level loot quality, which made it insanely popular for that first week, I guess, of Warlords' release, before it was swiftly nerfed back down to challenging level difficulty and rewards. And I don't think it's ever really come back since then. So that's what I want to discuss today. Let's just dive right in. Now, I did a video on a potential DZ revamp a long while back. It must have been around the TU10 or TU11 era, so like a year and a few months ago, because I remember Nicky Coupins, who, if you don't know, used to be a game designer on The Division 2, he did something like he either asked someone on Twitter what they like to see changed about the DZ to make it better, or he commented on people's requests for DZ changes. Either way, that sparked my engines to go and make a video on it back then. And among some of the changes I proposed, there were some more in-depth, intricate solutions they could implement to make things more fair, more exciting, whatever. That's not the point of this video. Point is, the DZ has seen zero changes in over 18 months, and it's certainly not benefited from that, with the exception of things like completing the weekly PvP project or farming DZ exclusive items. It's not used for its intended purpose at all, which is ultimately a high-risk, high-reward area for farming with the added danger of PvP. It's practically the complete opposite right now, which is very low risk, very mediocre reward. And it has turned in, more and more over time to that PvP brawl zone that people so often refer to it as, which I think a lot of people accuse PvPers of enjoying. They're like, you don't want to get Dark Zone, you just want to fight other players. Now, I won't lie, I enjoy the big group fights in the DZ. I do it all the time. You're probably watching it in the background of this very video right now. But if that's what the DZ were to embody, if that's what I thought it should become over time, then I would make a video saying they should remove all NPCs from the DZ, because half of the DZ's already small landmasses are rarely used for PvP due to there being NPCs in the landmarks there. But guess what? I don't think it should be a PvP brawl zone. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be a PvPvE open world zone with rare loot, high risk, and extraction mechanics central to the experience, and that's not what we have right now. It's not what it has been for a long time. So I'm not going to give wild ideas for reimagination of the experience. I'm going to give the bare bone, clear-cut changes needed to be made to at least restore the DZ's honor, its integrity. It won't fix the problems. We'll still have 3 smaller DZs. We'll still have Division 2's PvP, yada yada. But hopefully, it would make the DZ at least worthwhile and desirable as somewhere to farm again, as it was intended from its conception. And given the upcoming TU14 in Year 4 is kind of a brand new chapter for the Division 2 as a whole, I would really hope there's some time and space in one of those updates in 2022 to introduce at least some of these changes and ideas, so that we can see the revitalization of one of the Division's most iconic pieces of content. Because I think the Dark Zone absolutely has the potential to, and place to become another great source of farming within the game. And if it were to be made relevant again, you could just see that many more people given a new avenue to play, to farm gear, and just enjoy the game again. So let's get into the changes, shall we? Like I said, very bare bones, the essentials that we need to get the DZ back up and running as relevant content once more. Before I lay those out, I want to first point out that, surprisingly, there is one aspect to the DZ that is currently super rewarding, if you didn't know, and that's PvP itself. That's right, as much as you may dislike the combat and gameplay of PvP in the Division 2, it actually hands you tons and tons of loot at heroic quality, that being from the DZ caches you obtain. Kill one manhunt at rank 5, and bam, 4 caches straight to your inventory. That's already 8 pieces of heroic loot, 2 per cache. Wipe a squad of rank 5 manhunts, 32 pieces of loot, literally in the blink of an eye. And I'm not joking when I say it's insanely rewarding. If you spend just a little bit of time running around and PvPing in the DZ, those caches rack up really fast. I'm sure a lot of you who play that know what I'm talking about. Now, the only downside of this is you cannot target the loot. The caches are uninfluenced by that specific DZ's target, and so essentially you're getting purely random stuff. But again, it's very well rolled, so still definitely worth it in my opinion. So the PvP reward and incentive in the DZ is already where it should be at, in my opinion, offering maybe the highest ratio of loot per time spent in the whole game. Again, you just can't target it, and that's why it's not, quote unquote the best. And along with those pretty rewarding daily and weekly PvP projects granting you rare optimization materials, the entire PvP side of the DZ is already kind of set as far as, relevant and rewarding endgame content. The issue is the PvE side of the DZ, kind of the core identity of it, with the extraction mechanic and all of that. So, 2 changes. That's all I think it needs. Could it receive more? Could there be more in-depth changes and reworks to make the DZ even more fun? Absolutely. But I think if you're talking bare bones, essential changes for what it needs to get back on track, you just need to do 2 things that really aren't that hard to do. at least in concept. Number 1, increase the difficulty of NPCs and increase the reward quality of the loot you obtain from the PvE side of the DZ up to heroic, but we'll talk about that. Number 2, reshuffle NPC distribution in the DZ accordingly to fit with their new power level. Let's break those down. First one, it's pretty simple. Make the DZ heroic again. For the life of me, I don't know why this would be a problem. People can go to the summit right now, set it to heroic, choose their own targeted loot, and increase the chance of that dropping with directives. So why would it be so bad if the DZ had heroic difficulty and loot? I understand you can farm it faster than a lot of other spots in the game, but it's the DZ. That's the entire point. It's supposed to be one of the best endgame spots to farm, if not the best. And that said, you're still at the mercy of the auto-assigned targeted loot for the zone. But even if it is a good target one day and the DZ is packed with people, so freaking what? That's the fun. That's the entire point. And how is that any different than blasting through PvE content when Golden Bullet is active? I really just think bumping things up to heroic quality would be so healthy for the game overall. Even if it doesn't instantly make the DZ the most popular thing again, it would just make it relevant. That's all we're asking for here. Hell, if they wanted, they could even set it to its own difficulty, like midway between heroic and legendary. Heroic plus, you could call it, because right now the absolute statistical best loot in the game comes from the raids, legendary difficulty missions, and legendary summon. And then every piece of heroic content comes after that, all on the same level. I would see no reason why you couldn't just make the DZ a bit better than all of those. Then it would actually fulfill its promise of handing out some of the best loot in the game. And again, it wouldn't invalidate Summit because you're still at the mercy of the auto-selected targeted loot. It wouldn't be the same as when they tried to do Gear Score 515 loot in the DZ because it's all the same loot, just with a higher chance of rolling better from the jump. But whatever, that's probably considered controversial to ask for. Just bump it up to heroic, please, massive, please. All right, so that's the first change that we really need. And then number 2, pretty easy, just adjust the NPC positioning in the DZ to comply with the new heroic difficulty. And by that I mean, make the landmarks a little bit harder. If they're worried about the DZ then offering too good of loot at too easy a challenge, make the landmarks themselves more challenging. But conversely, nerf or remove the roaming NPC patrols in the streets. There's nothing more annoying than engaging in a PvP battle and then running across a random patrol of elites who decides to mess you up in the back while you're also trying to hold off players. I really don't see the gameplay value of having NPCs outside of the landmarks. If you go into a landmark and you PvP, then that's your own conscious choice. You have to face that risk. But if you're just out on the street, come on. So given they would become even tougher adds with heroic difficulty, either make every patrol red bars or just straight up remove them. I think you'd find a lot of DZ regulars who would very much thank you for that, because right now they really add nothing to the experience and they'd only become more annoying if they were bumped up in difficulty to heroic. Alright everyone, well I think that about does it for my pitch of revitalizing the DZ. Like I said, very bare bones, very easy, quote unquote, bump the challenge and loot quality to heroic or some sort of heroic plus to make the content relevant again and align it with the currently super rewarding PvP aspect of the DZ, and redistribute NPC density and placement throughout the DZ to match those changes accordingly. And then bam, you've got yourself a DZ that's worth engaging with again for things other than just PvP. It would probably bring a lot more people back to its streets, make it fun to play again, and at least attempt to live up to its name as a PvPvE zone. And in an updated year that seems to be focused on redefining the endgame for the Division 2, I would really hope there's the time and interest in making the DZ worthwhile again, because I really think it's not that hard to do, and you'd gain a lot of goodwill from the community for showing that you care. And hell, if they want to do even more, please, add in new live events like the Contaminated Zones from Div 1, add a legendary DZ that rotates around, add in modifiers that can get turned on and off. Like I said, there's a lot you could do to make it even more fun, but like I said, just bare minimum essential changes we need, just those 2 things. Please, massive. Please. Alright, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on this notion of a DZ revamp. Do you think it's A, needed, and B, something the devs might actually pursue given the nature of TU14's objectives and continuation of the game in Year 4? Also, what do you think about my 2 proposed changes? Is there more that you think we would need in order to make the DZ relevant once more? Let me know all that down below. I'll be very curious to hear what everyone's thoughts are. I love the DZ. It's what made me truly fall in love with Division 1, and in that first week of Warlords when it was on Heroic, it was really fun, really special, and I'd really love to see what a relevant and rewarding DZ would look like within Year 4 of the Division 2, especially with how already rewarding the PvP side of it is. I think it'd be a ton of fun. But anyway, that's going to do it for me, everyone. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold. Out.